Alright, I'm back with another quick video on the Civic. I'm going to go ahead and do the fuel line conversion, converting the heart lines to dash 6 and mounting the in-bay fuel filter. I'm not going to use the stock fuel filter. I'm going to use the inline Grams 6AN filter that's good for pump gas and E85. So with doing that, I'm going to convert the heart line, mount the filter, and then build the line from the rail to the fuel filter and from the fuel filter back to the heart line. So I'll go ahead and get to that, show you what I'm going to use, and go from there. Now the filter being used is going to be the Grams 20 micron inline. Can you see that? Fuel filter. It's a nice unit. I've used it a few times for a few different builds and sold quite a few of them. I am a Grams dealer, so if you need one, let me know. They work well. One of the only issue with me really is the size, and this is not just this filter, even if it was the air motive or whatever else, you run into a size and location place to put it without it being, you know, a focal point. I don't really want it to be the first thing you see when you look under the hood. So to put it somewhere out of the way is probably the biggest task, to mount it securely. So I found the spot where I want to put it. I'll go ahead and show you what I do to mount them and get it done neatly. Now there's several ways, obviously, you could mount a fuel filter. You can put it wherever you want to put it. Like I said before, I don't want it to be a focal point. So I mean, some will mount it right here where it's fairly simple to get to, or mount it off the rail, which I wouldn't want to do with a filter this size because you'll run into a space constraint. Not just the filter being big, but you have a lot going on down there with hoses. But also you'll run into an issue with the potential of having fittings vibrate loose and cause a fuel leak, which you absolutely don't want. So what I did, I found a hole on the frame rail that isn't used from the factory that I'm going to use, and I'm going to modify the Grams fuel filter bracket that they sell to get it to work. So I'll get this, I'll go grab the bracket and show you what I did to make it fit into this tight spot. I'm going to mount it right above the subframe so it's out the way. I can route the hoses how I want to route them and dodge everything else so that there won't be a hose rubbing issue or anything else like that. Okay, here's the Grams fuel filter. That's the part number. That's the billet fuel filter mount bracket. It's pretty cool. It's great if you're going to mount the filter low, like under a car, and you can put 2 bolts through the bottom of the car, or if you're in an application where you have more room to mount the filter using both tabs. In the Civic, you really don't. There's not a really good spot to put it in the bay using both bolt holes. So what I did, I took the bracket, ran through my saw, cut the one side off, and this way I can mount it and hang it above the subframe in the front of the car and still have room to mount it and level it out. Also, for whatever reason, there is a little room in the bracket, and the bracket now is all the way shut. So they sell an additional rubber grommet to put it in there and tighten it down. So I found the bolt hole on the frame rail. I'll go ahead and show you that. I'm going to go ahead and run a tap through it. Since there was nothing in it, you know, it could be corroded or have a little rust or whatnot in the hole. So I like to run a tap through the hole to clean it out. And yeah, I'll get this thing mounted and start building the lines. The hole's not too bad. Just put a little WD-40 on the tap. I just want to make sure it's clean. So yeah, we're good to go there. It's a 10mm hole like most holes on the Honda. It's either 10 or 8 by 1.25. This one's a 10. Or 6. You know, they M6 holes too. You see now it clears the subframe so I can mount the bracket, and I'll just slide the filter in to put it in place so I can measure and cut all the lines, get the fittings in the right orientation. Now the filter shows you which way it flows, so fuel is going out this way. So I'll just hang it there. And I'm going to go back, well, it's coming in from the firewall. So it'll basically be a 45. I've already converted the hard line to -6. It's going to come down to here, and I'll wrap it around here with a 120 and get it back up to the fuel line, or fuel rail. Now when you're building your fuel lines, you want to kind of map it out in your head or draw it on paper, however you want to do it, so that you can get your fittings at a good angle and not in a bind. I do a lot of these fuel kits and oil return kits, so it's pretty easy for me to do it in my head. But we got 45 off the firewall, and the pump's mounted low, so I'm going to do another 45 into it. You could have used a 90 there, but again, I didn't want to have some kind of hard, tight bend. With the 45s, you have a smoother transition in and out of the pump. Not that it really matters, but as far as installing and the way it looks, I prefer to have more of a slope instead of a real tight bend right there, if at all possible. Then I have another 45 off the rail and a 120 coming out of the filter. So I'll go ahead and get this started. Like I said, these are vibrant fittings and hoses. They work out well. These are -6, so I'll go ahead and get one side fit on there and measure the hose and get it cut, and I'll show you how to put these together pretty easily. Now you can see for the inlet line, it's 45 off the hard line down to the pump, and with them in place you can see I can get a pretty good slope. So what I gotta do is cut the hose, measure it out, then cut it, and then I'll come back and just put this line on, put it in place, and then make the other side. Alright, you can see I got the inlet line made, and it's a fairly easy swoop. I made it, or I make them a little long like that, maybe about an inch or so too long, so that they're easier to put on, because once you get the A-end fitting, you have to line them up perfectly to keep it from going on as in a bind or possibly cross-threading as they go on. So if I make it just a hair longer, I have more flexibility in the line to be able to screw them on and tighten them down with ease instead of putting them in a bind and struggling to put them on. It's very interesting. I just noticed this while I was making lines. It has nothing to do with the car. I had this intruder last night apparently, and this is the second time I've seen this. I'll walk over here and show you. Is this a cat, squirrel, raccoon? I don't know what that is. Whatever it is, it came in, slid down the windshield, and looks like it walked back up. And I don't know where it went. I had these same footprints show up inside the showcase in the showroom about 3 or 4 months ago. It got in, walked in the showcase, walked back out, and was gone before I got here. And this wasn't here yesterday. So if you know what that is, let me know in the comments. Now I've got both lines made and everything put where I want it. And again, what was important to me was to have the fuel filter mounted down low and out the way, and not a real focal point. And to make sure that I had room for everything else. The catch can lines will, plenty of room, and leaving room for the charge pipe without any kind of rubbing issue. Alright, it's starting to rain a pretty good bit right now, so I'm going to cut the video short. Thanks for checking in. Again, if you know what these paw prints are, let me know. I'd be interested to know. That way there's not some rodent running past me while I'm working on a car. I would, rather that not happen. But anyway, I'll do another video soon, and I appreciate you checking in.